Every now and then I'll hear something I'm sure you've heard before, or perhaps even said yourself. Just how much did you spend on your airsoft gun? Why not just buy a real gun? I think there's something worth talking about here, and the question is, exactly what kind of value do you get from an airsoft gun, and why are some people willing to spend so much money on what are essentially realistic toy guns? Naturally, I'll have a bit of a bias here, but we'd love to hear what you guys think, so definitely leave a comment down below about what makes airsoft worth it to you, or maybe not. Either way, we'd love to hear your thoughts. The first point I'd like to make is an airsoft gun versus a real gun, though they look quite similar, have entirely different uses. It's like saying, why would you ever buy an expensive bicycle when you can just simply buy a motorcycle? Sure, one goes a whole lot faster, just like a bullet goes a whole lot faster, but at the end of the day, with a bicycle you can get exercise, explore bike paths, and travel around the city almost for free without the laws governing motorcycles. Again, just an entirely different use. I think in this day and age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking bigger numbers equals more value. More horsepower, more megapixels, more feet per second. But it's easy to forget sometimes it's more important when you can actually use that power. Take for instance, big DSLR cameras, which will always take better photos than a cell phone camera. But the cell phone camera has the convenience and accessibility factor, while that bulky DSLR is often just left sitting on the shelf at home. Don't get me wrong, a real gun can be tremendous fun at the range, but if you're stuck sitting at home, perhaps in a quarantine, being able to set up some targets in your backyard and run some basic drills can be just as rewarding, and a whole lot cheaper in the long run too. Speaking of training, airsoft guns have come a long way to become so realistic that if you get proficient with an airsoft gun, you can easily transition those same skills to real firearms and actually be really good at it too. If you haven't already, check out T-Rex Arm's airsoft video where he puts a real gun in the hands of someone who's only ever shot airsoft. We're not affiliated with that channel in any way, but we think it's a great video that really put airsoft on the map as a viable training alternative. If you're introducing someone new to shooting sports and you want to put something in their hands that's not only not intimidating, but will still allow them to learn the basics like gun safety, sight picture, and trigger control, airsoft can be the perfect training tool. Also consider the teching aspect. A lot of us like to fine-tune and upgrade our guns, and that's definitely a big part of the hobby. Not only is airsoft a whole lot cheaper and easier to learn on, but you can do almost all of the work yourself without specialized tools or the help of a licensed gunsmith. If you've always wanted to do a specific firearm build, but you're not sure if you want to sink the cash into it, the equivalent airsoft build is almost always going to be cheaper, and it's great to build it up in airsoft first and see if you actually like it. And then of course there's the collector's aspect. Take for instance, you watch the latest John Wick movie and you want his TTI on your wall. Not everyone is willing to spend $4 grand on the real thing, and depending on your gun laws, you might not even be allowed to display it on your wall. Airsoft allows you to collect rare weapons that just wouldn't be practical to own the real thing, like light machine guns, historical weapons, or sniper rifles that easily cost as much as a car. I'm not saying it's not possible, but for most of us, airsoft scratches most of that itch for a whole lot less. Even the rarest airsoft gun out there is still going to be cheaper than a mid-range firearm. And finally, there's the gameplay, the bread and butter of the sport. While it's true, I haven't been playing as much as I would like to, some of my best memories of all time are spent out on the field, just having a blast with some buddies. Sure, a day at the gun range is tough to beat, but in my opinion, it doesn't hold a candle to executing a perfectly timed flank with your squad mates, capturing that key objective, or the adrenaline of actually having someone shoot back at you, all while trying to lay down accurate fire. This MP5K is tired, old, and probably not worth much money, but the stories it could tell. How me and a squad mate alone held down a foxhole against wave after wave of enemies for nearly an hour until backup arrived. It was a scene straight out of Black Hawk Down. I was down to my last magazine, desperately calling for help over my radio. It was awesome. Or how I used this zip tie as a sling mount because one time during a zombie game, a zombie grabbed it off my back by accident while I was desperately trying to run away like a madman, all in a pitch black abandoned hospital. Talk about pretty good immersion. Yes, I did actually get away that time, and yes, he made it a point to apologize after. To me, those stories and experiences are worth so much more than, oh, I shot $1,000 worth of rounds at the range the other day. Again, please don't get me wrong, I love guns of all types, but my point is, don't look down on airsoft just because it's not as loud or as powerful as the real thing. For a lot of people, the fun you can get from an airsoft gun is well worth the price of admission. I hope this opens up the discussion about what airsoft is really about and the value that people see in it so that they're willing to spend thousands of dollars on what's essentially nice toys. As always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment about what airsoft means to you, and we'll catch you on the next one.